Okay, so I am making some spring rain soap. It's one of my good sellers, and it's a pretty white and green. Right now what I'm mixing up with this tiny itty bitty mixing blender that isn't on is actually kale and clay and the fragrance oil. I like to put my fragrance oil just in the kale and clay and then mix it in after. And then in this one is actually Maniacal Pea by Mad Micah's out of Florida in a little bit of the oil. And I'm gonna do a drop swirl with this. Hopefully it doesn't accelerate too much. I haven't made it in a while, so I don't remember. And here is water and titanium dioxide. I love the way that it wiggles. And lastly, I have the lye and my oils. And they're both heated up to 98.4 for that one. And 95. So they're within 5 degrees of each other, which is a rule of thumb that people use. I've done it without. It's okay. There's also people who do heat transfer. I'm not that brave, nor do I use oils that are that hard. So we're gonna mix our lye and our oils together and get to just about trace. And then I'll add in the fragrance oil. Make sure it's nice and blended up with the kale and clay. Kale and clay can kind of be pitty and make the soap look a little pockmarked if it's not well blended. So I like to blend it. And this is a pretty small batch, so you don't have to blend it forever to get any kind of emulsification. With the bigger batches and stuff like that, they take a little bit longer because you got to move everything, but not this one. We're getting there. Just a little bit more. And I like to blend mine just to about trace and then add in stuff, because if I've got to blend more, it means that it's going to get thicker. Not to mention, like I said, I haven't used this fragrance oil in a while. I don't remember if it accelerates or not. So we're gonna cross our fingers and hope for the best, that I don't end up with, you know, a brick. I like these kitchen containers. They come with lids. Makes it nice to be able to prep all the oils ahead of time. But it also makes a great spot for me to put all of my oily utensils without putting them, like, getting them everywhere. Okay. So I am gonna have to mix this again when I add in, or when I move part of it into the Maniacal Pea color, and then when I drop the titanium dioxide in here. So it's looking not quite tracy, but that's okay. It's just about perfect for being able, it's kind of thick though, look at that. For it to be just about the right consistency. So let's go ahead and drop that in. And that's about a third of the batter. This makes almost about 1.5 liters exactly. So, and I like my swirls to usually be no more than a half and no less than a third. Somewhere right underneath is kind of nice. Okay. Okay. So I'll let that one sit there for a second. I'm going to toss in the titanium dioxide. And I am going to blend this with the stick blender for just a second, because titanium dioxide for some reason doesn't like become its full potential by just being hand mixed. I don't know why. I don't know what the disbursement may have to do with it or what exactly. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. But I like to be able to bloop, 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 bloop. Very light trace, perfect. I like to mix it with the stick blender just a little bit. Okay, now this one I'm actually gonna mix by hand, because I want this one to stay as watery as possible, because this is the one that we're gonna be pouring in. And I got this container with this nice pointed tip off Amazon. You can get them from Brambleberry. You can get them from a handful of different soap distributors. So but I do like me a good drop swirl. I'm looking at the sides to make sure that there's no like residual stuck anywhere. It smells good. Okay. I'll make sure that this is still pourable. Okay. So we're going to put in our base layer just so that all of our boop, boop, boop. So we have something to drop into. Okay. Nice and wiggly still, all of it. Perfect. And put that down over there. And then we're just going to drop it in. Wee. Okay. And wiggle, 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 wiggle. Sound effects help, I swear. The higher you drop it, the farther down it goes. It's the whole momentum thing. But it's definitely harder to do with a giant container than an actual like pour spout. The original time that I made this soap, it was actually just, I think, lines. I didn't do anything special with it. I just made layers. And it was fine. I thought I'd mix it up this time. And I'm sorry that you're getting the container more than you're getting the actual soap, but this is how it works. And I will scrape out that container, but right now I want to scrape this one and get all of the white into the mold so that I can dribble the last bits of green on it and give it a top. And I'm going to be pretty soft about this one. You can see that the container is really close to the top of the soap so that I don't break through a ton. Also, I want to make sure that I get as much soap out of this as possible because all of these little bits cost me money and make the bar less effective economically. So I try to scrape out as much as possible. Sometimes if I have bars that go over because there's a bunch of stuff in them, I will even make little mini bars and hand them out as samples. So I try to use as much of the bar as possible. Okay, let me tamp that down. Just give it a good drop a little bit here. Force it all to level out. And now let's see what we can get from my green container. Oops. Okay. And I used this earlier just to mix in the fragrance oil and the kaolin clay. So now I'm just going to use the other end of it and swirl it. I do enjoy a good swirled top. There we go. Come back tomorrow for the cut.
It's 9.